Numbers 20 to 21 today, short section because there's quite a lot of interesting stuff in it. And I know what you're thinking, and the answer is yes, I am aware that I sound like Igor from Count Duckula. We start this with, in the desert of Zin, not Sin, Zin, and it's just mentioned that when Miriam dies, Aaron's wife dies here, not clear why or how or anything like that. The people have moved into this desert bit, and then, surprise, surprise, there's no water because it's desert. And of course, their response to this is to go to Moses and have a grumble. Why don't we just die in the Egypt and all the rest of it? Moses goes to God and says, people could do with some water here. So Moses says, right, we'll go and talk to this rock over here, and water will come out, do it in front of everybody, and it'll all be happy. Moses goes away, rounds up all the Israelites. 600,000 people aren't going to be able to see you talk to a rock, are they? But I don't know who these people are particularly, but certainly a lot of people were there to witness. Moses goes up to the rock, whacks it twice with his stick, and out comes all the water, and happy days. I say happy days. You may have spotted there that God said, talk to the rock. What Moses did was whack the rock. So the water still came out, obviously, but God is not happy with Moses and says that reflects a lack of trust. And God then says to Moses that he will not enter the promised land with the Israelites. Not quite clear if that means that Moses will go without them or they will go without him. It's not clarified. And Moses seems to not react at all. There doesn't seem to be any sense from Moses that he's like, oh no, I've messed up and now I don't get to do this thing. It just carries on. It's very, very odd. We then move on anyway, and Moses asked the king of the Edomites, I believe that's people descended from Esau, who was Jacob/Israel's brother, so, cousins, basically, if they can pass through the land. The Edomites turn around and say, no, you can't, and which seems mean, but at the same time, I guess if you're responsible for a country, especially in those days, 600,000 people walk through it, you're going to let them in the middle, and then, so I guess probably not the end of the world. The Israelites presumably are not particularly happy about this, but they respect it and they turn away. All fine there for now. At this point, we randomly veer off into the death of Aaron. And God says this is going to happen. He says Aaron's going to die, so go up a mountain, get all your priestly stuff, give it to your son, and then you're going to die on this mountain. It doesn't seem that God is the cause of this. It just seems that it was Aaron's time to die, and God said this is coming, so go and sort yourself out. The people mourn for 30 days. They seem to have liked Aaron. I suppose he did save their life in the last one, didn't he, from the when God was going to torch the entire Israelite community. Sort of bit sad. His wife died. He's now died up top of a mountain. God knew it was coming. Interesting. And then we move on. Next, we have the Canaanites attack the Israelites, seemingly unprovoked. There's certainly no indication of provocation. Maybe having a lot of people outside your country just sitting there, but they respected the Edomites, saying, no, you can't come through, but the Canaanites just thought, no, we're going to go get them. At this point, the Bible randomly starts referring to someone as Israel. And if you recall, Israel was the other name for Jacob, as in the man who's been dead for, 400 years. But the Bible's suddenly saying Israel makes a vow with God about this after this attack from the Edomites. I don't know if I've missed something. I've read it a couple of times. I can't pick up where we're suddenly referring to Israel as a person again, but we'll keep an eye on it. Anyway, the vow that this Israel, who's presumably Moses, I don't know, makes with God is that if God lets them have back the hostages that the Canaanites took when they attacked the Israelites, then the Israelites will go and wipe out the Canaanites. That's a weird deal, but okay. God seems quite happy with this anyway, and then, sure enough, the Israelites get their hostages back, it sounds like, and then go and wipe out all of the Canaanite cities, which I guess they were going to kind of do anyway, since they were marching north to go and live in Canaan, which is the land that God had given them. But not quite sure what to do with that, especially at the minute. After the Israelites have wiped out the Canaanites, they still respect their deal with the Edomites, saying that they wouldn't enter their land, and they go around it, which I found sort of pleasingly honourable, I suppose. But of course, it's the Israelites, so now they're grumbling because it's taking too long to walk around the land of Edom. So they have another big old whinge at Moses, and God, clearly having realised that his staff, blooming almonds and all the rest of it, that clearly didn't solve all that, decides he's just going to throw some poison snakes at them. and it said that lots of the Israelites died from being bitten by these snakes. The people, predictably, then apologised to Moses. Oh, we're sorry, we've sinned and all the rest of it. Please make him stop. God goes to Moses, say, can we do something about this? God says, put a bronze snake on a pole, and then anyone who looks at that after they've been bitten by the snake won't die. Still going to get bitten, but they're not going to die. Moses then asks the Amorites for passage through their land. The Amorites say no, as did the Edomites, except the Amorites then attack the Israelites. There's a lot of ites, isn't there? This is going to get very confusing. I should write this down. That seems all done and dusted very quickly. So they're all put to the sword and they take over the land of the Amorites. There's then this land of Bashan, something like that. So that makes them Bashanites, but there's no reference to Bashanites, so people of Bashan. They then attack the Israelites as well, and then God says of the Bashan lot that they're attacking the Israelites is God delivering the Bashan people to the Israelites, and they are to do the same to them as they did to the Amorites. So they wipe them out as well. They're quite badass, these Israelites, has to be said. They don't seem to have any trouble when they get attacked by people, certainly. But there is a bit of genocide going on a little bit here. I mean, granted, they've been attacked and it's a complicated, it's not quite straightforward. It's not like they're marching into peaceful places and massacring everybody. But there is a lot of fighting and a lot of societies being wiped out as the Israelites come through. There's no mention of this linking back to God's census at the beginning of the book of Numbers. But it does seem that does now make sense that God was looking for how many fighting people he had. And it was enough, it would seem. So 3 big interesting parts in that, I think. There's God's thought at the end of the last bit that after all the Israelites had seen and still doubted him, he thought putting 12 staffs in a tent and making one grow almonds was going to sort it all out. I'm granted the guy whose staff did grow then died anyway, so perhaps that undermines that a little bit. But God presumably knew he was going to die shortly, so not quite clear. Either way, there seems to be nothing that's going to set aside the grumbling, and God does not like grumbling, so there's clearly a lot of problems with that. There's the small matter of all the genocide. I don't quite know what to do with that, because it's not like Adolf Hitler just invading peaceful neighbours and wiping people out and all the rest of it. They're being attacked, and it sounds like they've respected the Edomites, so there's something in there that if people are willing to peacefully coexist, then it's fine. I don't know if the Edomites are goodies or baddies. It's difficult to tell. I know a lot of these societies have been said previously that they were practicing terrible things and had fake gods and all the rest of it, and it seems God didn't want the Israelites intermixing with them, so that's why he wanted them gone. It's sort of a Sodom and Gomorrah sort of idea. Apparently there are whole pockets of stuff where people are just so bad they just need to be wiped out. Tricky though, and I know this one can be a bit of a bone of contention for people, that all the genocide, and it doesn't help with God's image in the Old Testament that he's just going around killing everybody. We'll just have to see, I guess, but I mean certainly it's clearly not Hitler-esque in terms of what's happening. And the most interesting bit I actually thought was the snakes. I really like the idea that you have to do something to get something, because that does seem to reflect real life. And so God's saying, okay, you can look at this bronze thing on a stick, which is presumably some sort of act of, well, it is an act of faith, isn't it? I mean, if he said, go and look at it and you'll be healed, and like, okay, fine. But you still get bitten. And I mean, it sounds okay, well, so what? You get bitten, you don't die, but it's all right. But, you're surrounded by snakes, there's loads of them everywhere, you're getting bitten, you're in the middle of a desert. If you do nothing, you're still going to die. You've still got to go and find this pole. And, if you're at the back of the queue of 600,000, then it's a long way away. So it's still going to be a pretty stressful experience, I think. So it's not like God's just snapping his fingers and suddenly, everything's fine. It's still, no, everything is really not fine, but the worst case scenario is potentially avoidable by an act of faith. It seems like there's a lot in that, and I'm probably not doing it justice, but it was an interesting one to pick up on. Again, that theme of you have to do something to get something, which I think seems like a good principle for life anyway. But yes, that's Numbers 20 to 21. Clearly a lot moving forward. I mean, in just those short couple of pages, the Israelites have taken over quite a lot of land and killed an awful lot of people. So clearly things are moving forward in terms of the story. But on to the next one, and we'll find out what happens next.